All right, welcome everybody to today's journey into the experience of divine sex. Today, I am going to be taking you on a little trail down the road of the nature of sexuality itself and 7 key principles that I've found in my life have been foundational to transforming my experience of my sexuality and my relationship with other people. These 7 keys each touch on a key aspect of our consciousness and who we are and what we are and how we can become the greatest beings that we can be, which means really just dropping a lot of baggage. As Rumi once said, you don't have to try to find love, but just remove the barriers to love within you, and love emerges. The first key is very much entwined with this idea. It is very simply that you can only have as much pleasure as you are willing to release and let go of pain. See, pleasure and pain are two sides of a coin. If our body is in pain and we're experiencing constriction, our muscles are tight, our bodies are essentially resisting the flow of the field inside of us, then there's only so much pleasure that we can experience while we're in that state. The tension itself of pain and of the journey of having pain in many ways can be a counterpart, an alchemy to our experience of the awakening of deep and profound pleasure inside of us. Think about it. When you've gone into the most intense moments in your life and things have been so hard that they broke you down to a point where you were bawling and crying and ripped open by the pain, ripped open by the nature of the intensity of that deep moment. And then you moved through it and you started to have this experience that was something entirely different, an experience of bliss inherent within that pain and within that challenge, that some part of you opened up even deeper to the truth of who you are, to the truth of what is, because at the heart of the grief, there is this clear ray of you and your presence and who you truly are. There's not many things in our lives that can help us to access these deep transcendent states where suddenly we realize that nothing actually matters except for our own love, our own being, our experience of self. There was a time when I was in my early 20s. I'd been in a 4.5-year-long relationship with a woman that I'd had a tumultuous, rocky road of adventures with, but many, many, many past life experiences. And in this massive wave of self-awareness that I gained over the 4.5 years that we were together, my identity had been forged in many ways in this bond and in this partnership. And I came to know myself so much more because of her, and found myself wondering, was she my soulmate? Was she the person that was my twin flame, the essence of partnership itself from a divine perspective? And one day she took me to a graveyard and she sat me down, and I could see this intense fluster in her eyes, this intense struggle going on inside of her. And she said to me, "I'm not in love with you, and I don't know if I ever have been." That day, after having years of cultivated partnership and relationship and depth and memories and so many pieces of my life puzzle and my life journey having come together with someone, being suddenly hit by a sword that was trying to slice right through the core of our connection, to sever that. It left me in a state of total confusion about what was real at all. Was I real? Was my life real? Was everything that I'd been through worth anything in my whole journey? I found myself spiraling down that night into this vortex of pain and darkness. And at the root of it, at the bottom of it, I felt like nothing mattered anymore. I could give her back everything she'd ever given me, the swords that represented this lifetime, the chalice that represented that, and the cloak that had stitched my name in the back of the heart, and all of these pieces of connection that meant so much to me. Suddenly, I felt like they had turned to ash, and that perhaps all of it had been a dream, an illusion. And so what is life? What is this dream? What is this illusion? Does it matter? Does it matter to anyone if I'm alive? And there in the darkness, in the depth of that pain and utter sense of loss, when I felt like I had nothing, I realized I still was in love with her. I still could feel the love that I had for her. I could still sense that no matter what, at the depth of all of this confusion and mayhem and insanity and the lie that she had never loved me, which was obviously not true to me, that it didn't actually matter because I knew the truth in my heart. I knew that love was inside of me in such a profound and deep way that it could weather whatever storm came. And that this love was something that I could never lose. That the heart of that beacon inside of me was something that could never be taken away. And as I've journeyed through my life, I realized that many of the deep transformational moments of loss, when we lose loved ones, I just found out I lost a dear friend of mine yesterday. And last week, there was a gentleman who was a friend of mine for years and went through a sort of psychotic break and believed that he is the Messiah and decided to make me his public enemy number one because I told him that it might not be a good idea to share that with lots of people and try to get everybody to believe that he's the emperor of the new world. And he took his own life about a week ago. And so it's been a time of interesting reflection on death. And when I've seen death and seen transformation and looked at the way that we look at life itself and the treasure of life itself, of course, the two sides of the alchemical coin of the power to create life through sexuality and pleasure and bliss and divine orgasmic potential, the other side of that coin is death. And so the things that we actually have the ability to feel deeply and truly, the rawness of what life is, and the acceptance of both the pain of what life is and the loss that life can bring, and the way that we may experience something for a time and try to hold on to it and have to let it go. That dynamic of energy is very much in every way intertwined with our capacity to have and feel pleasure. We have to be able to accept our pain. The pain of our past is what may cause us to resist being present in the moment. If somebody's pulled away from you before or hurt you or given you this look or maybe, withdrew in a moment of intimacy and it hurt you and they left or they shamed you or they said something that made you feel like you weren't good enough, and you find yourself in another moment that is inherently pleasurable, it's flowing and things are going good, and suddenly they pull back, you may project the pain of your past experience onto that moment and constrict around the dynamic of the moment and lose your sense of the pleasure that can have its presence now. We can lose that connection by being caught in the whirlwind of a moment of a period in the past that was painful. But we can also alchemize it. We can turn it around and say, actually, I welcome this feeling that I'm having right now. I'm worried that you are moving away from me because you're rejecting me because I've had that experience before. And give someone an opportunity to say, oh, actually, no, I'm actually pulling away from you because I actually just had something come up inside of me and I was having a trigger, and something about the way that you were looking at me was making me feel like not enough. And now suddenly we're bonding. We're moving through the currents of our past experience and recognizing a resonance that can actually call us into deeper presence with each other. Now, this story will continue to unfold. And of course, I could talk about this one key forever, but it's really just at the root, because the pain and the pleasure dynamic is so very physical. It's so very visceral, isn't it? We're either scared and terrified and resisting, or we're opening and surrendering and feeling pleasure and feeling good in our bodies and in our systems. And the two are in an interplay. And you cannot absolutely lie to your body. You can't. You can't tell your body, this is supposed to feel good, this is supposed to be pleasure. You can't. If it doesn't feel good and you're not in that actual surrender through the energy of the moment, then you can't make your body open to that pleasure. So this is where the second key comes in, because energy is the source of all pleasure. And when you are in the potential state of pleasure, you are just as much in the potential state of pain. You are just as much in the potential state of any emotional field that you can imagine. The intimacy of the feeling of the energy of a moment can be happy or sad or angry or joyful. But the question is not what is the emotion or what is the energy that's there. The question is, are you allowing it to flow, or are you restricting it within yourself? Are you repressing it? The dynamics of connection and trust have everything to do with how authentically we're willing to own and be with the truth of where we actually are and what we're actually feeling. And this key is a sacral key, because the sacral chakra is the dynamic of the energy flow in and out of our body that's cultivating our emotional field, the vibratory field around us. And again, the vibratory field can't lie either. The feeling is the feeling. You know there's a feeling there. And then what do? We mentally say, oh, that feeling is bad. It's not good that I'm feeling really frustrated and angry right now while I'm trying to get things hot and bothered here. It's not good that I'm still feeling grief over a loss of a loved one when I'm trying to be in this blissful, joyful, ecstatic, intimate space. But alas, if you take the part of you that feels that pain or feels that anger or feels that frustration, you compartmentalize it with your mind and you push it aside, guess what? You're not totally there. All of you isn't present in the experience of the intimacy. So you actually have to do the opposite. It's like an Easter egg hunt. You have to go and find all the little eggs inside of you that are seeking to be opened and seeking to be acknowledged and seeking to be felt. And every one of those eggs, as in the old Celtic ways, is painted with an aspect of your life, an aspect of your divine field, a part of you that is holding a seed of truth. I like to look at the shadow as the ultimate expression of a seed that's still in its shell. It's stuck under the ground. It's dark. It's cold. It's struggling against the pressure of the soil. It's trying to let the water in. It's trying to let the life in. But then the seed does open. And as it opens, its life is able to push through, weave through all that pressure, all that crucible of the soil, and pierce forth from the ground. Sometimes it's so profound the way that seeds and plants actually emerge from the earth. Have you ever seen a plant breaking through the concrete of a road? It's busted all the way through the tar and the glue and this thick rock in order to find its way to the air and to the sun. Life inherently pressurizes our transformation, but we have to be willing to go with it, to move with it, to take what it's giving us and harness it. Because I can tell you that some of the most profoundly beautiful lovemaking experiences I've ever had in my life didn't happen just because we got into the groove, we're making out, things are getting really juicy and yummy, and we go in and we just have sex and it's just awesome. A lot of the most profound ones happened because as we went down that road, something came up and there was an emotion there. There was a feeling there. There was a memory there. There was a pain there that hadn't really been felt entirely. And when we allow that to have space, when we start to let it in a little bit, we create a little room with the rain, with the water of our emotions and our connection to let that sprout come forward. Well, when it blooms in the sunlight, oh, does the rose bloom so much brighter. Energy is everything. And so we, in order to harness the gift of our greatest pleasure, our greatest bliss, our greatest intimacy, and our greatest connection, must in turn embrace the everything. It is the union of the God, goddess, the infinite, eternal, the essence of all that is. So what's left out? You have to actually let it all be there. Why do you think there's so many weird, unusual, strange kinks out there in the world that people have? Why do people have this underlying obsession with sexuality and pornography and all of these ways of essentially getting in touch with turn on? It's because that turn on is actually the force of the creation of the universe. And it's driving us to accept more than we are and more than we thought we could be. It's driving us to actually let in the great torrential flow of the universal life force that drives as a current through all things. And this brings us to part 3, key number 3. Our thoughts and our beliefs, especially about ourselves, command our energy. And so you have the everything and nothing of the energetic field seeking to move, seeking to birth through you, seeking to have its experience of self-realization. You could say your orgasm wants itself, and your body's just in the way. And more importantly, your mind is in the way. Our minds take these experiences and these conditions, and it has the capacity to form containers through which the energy will flow. A lot of you have been in my prior courses, and you're very familiar with the way I talk about the mind, most likely, as a form of crystalline structure on the energetic field. It's an astral structure, a lens. And this lens drives the way the energy flows through it. The lens shapes the harmonics of the field, is another way to put it. You could also think of it as a filter through which the music of your being is played in a particular way and is able to be received in a particular way. We have the power to completely change the way something sounds, the way something feels, the way something is by the construct of our mental abilities. I can look at 1,000 things that happen in a day, and I can easily perceive them all as being detrimental to my life if I choose to do so. I can also look at 1,000 things that happen in a day, and I can see them as beneficial to my life. And the question is not really about whether the thing is good or bad at all. It's about my perceptual construct and judgment of the thing. As we all know, things that at some point in time might be bad would be very good at other points in time. And there's other things that could be very good at a particular moment and very bad at another time, right? Simple example to plug right in and relate to this course is, all right, well, you have this amazing boyfriend or this amazing girlfriend, and you're having like this incredible experience with them. You're traveling with them. And all of a sudden, somebody walks into your life that you have deep and profound soul resonance with, and you know that you've known from other lifetimes, or that is so powerfully connected to you that you cannot help but just feel this immense level of connection and attraction out of the blue. It's not like you were trying to do that. You were there on an adventure, on a vacation, on, whatever, with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your partner. Maybe it's your wife, maybe it's your husband. And all of a sudden, here's this energy that's come in, this new energy, this new person that is different and that feels vastly different than the relationship that you're in at the moment. And as you're sitting there engaging with this other person and this other way, perhaps just in a short conversation, suddenly there's all kinds of concerns and doubts arising in you. Is it okay that you feel this way about this other person? Is this bad? Are you suddenly realizing you need to shift relationships? Are you being tested by God to see, like, can you be so, truthful and honoring of your primary partnership or your husband or your wife? We have all kinds of ideas and stories that come out. And so that experience, which when you really step back and look at the grand scheme of things, how is it not a massive eternal blessing to run into a soul that you have exquisitely beautiful resonance with? It's a huge blessing, always. And yet, in the moment of our own judgments and concerns, and perhaps fears of making someone jealous, or perhaps constructs of agreement that we've established so that, sorry, I can't do more than talk to you for 5 minutes, because if I go further than that, I'm going to feel shame. I'm going to feel scared that I'm doing something wrong. I'm going to be hurting my partner. I'm going to be causing a problem. I'm going to be cheating. I'm going to be whatever, right? And this is, real stuff. We all have had to deal with this at one point in time or another, to one level or another. And this course is not about, hey, you should be poly, or hey, you should, break down all the constructs of what you think are good or bad, or essentially change the way that you want to be in your life. It's not that kind of course. It's not what I do. It's not what I teach. What I'm here to do is reflect back to you the potentialities that arise in these moments, and to give you some clarity about your own choices and the ways that your own beliefs and your own choices are shaping your life. And you can choose from there how you want to navigate, how you want to be. Because if you can't see it, if it's unconscious, if it's just hidden there, it's behind the scenes, and it's stuck underneath a lens, a filter of fear, of judgment, of essentially a lack of being able to actually see and feel and know the truth of why something has entered your life and why the energy of that has arisen at this particular moment in time for you, then you may lose some of the amazing gifts that you have being brought to you all the time. And I'd like you to be able to receive those gifts more and more deeply, because life is an exquisite, beautiful journey. It's perfection if we can just surrender to it and accept it all the way. Which brings us to key number 4. Love and acceptance moves our energy, and it has the power to transmute our beliefs. Think about it this way. If we go back to that scenario, you meet this person, there's this soul resonance, but you're with your girlfriend or with your husband or with your wife, and you go, wow, this is really interesting that this is happening right now. What is this showing me? And you actually open yourself up to this state of love and acceptance for your life, for the gift of this emergence in this moment. And you focus on how much you love and accept your partner and your husband, your wife, whatever that is, that bond. And you are focused on that love, and you're focused on this new experience, and you're allowing yourself to actually have that experience. Then you might notice the little part of you in the back of your mind that says, oh, is there, what if they're going to be jealous? It's going to be bad. Oh, they're going to be mad at me. Oh, I'm never going to hear the end of it. All the stories, blah, 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 phrases that we use for these things. And instead, we're just really present. We're really present and really engaged. And suddenly we're like, oh, yeah, that little voice in the back of my head, that's just the part of me that was the scared little kid who felt rejected before. That's just actually the part of me that was a jealous because, I was in middle school and I really liked that girl, and then she really liked that other guy. And it was hard because he was such a jerk, and you're like, it's like unfair, it's dishonorable, it's like unjust, right? And yeah, I mean, we're humans, we're unjust all the time. We have such a lack of awareness of true justice and true honor in so many ways. And I think it's time to rebirth a lot of that in our culture. And one of the first ways that we can do that is to honor ourselves, to honor and accept us and the part of us that has this reaction to things. Because when you're not just out at a cafe and the reaction comes from a belief that's in the heart of the moment of deep intimacy, for example, if some of you men who are on this call or watching this have had the experience of being in the intimate moments with someone that you're very much turned on by and very much attracted to and very much interested in, and you're feeling really good, but your lingam is not responding, your penis is not getting hard, your cock is not growing, and it's not expressing its desire to be in that moment. Boy, we've got a lot of constructs. I mean, men have been given the gamut of them. Erectile dysfunction. What's wrong with you? How many problems do you have? What's your issue? You must be whatever, impotent, etc. Da 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 da. And for the women, the program is, oh, he's actually not really into you, because if he was, his body would be saying yes, but he's not because his body's not. So there must be something wrong with you. And so guess what? You're too ugly. You're not good enough. You're not pretty enough. There's something about your body that's turning him off. all of these stories. And all the stories are frames constraining the energetic flow and shaping the energetics of the actual intimacy and experience. We're just literally weaving it unconsciously like magic. And suddenly it's all pretty awkward. And we're like, oh, and we learn, okay, I'll just push through this, or if you're a woman and it's like, you thought you were really into this, and then you get into the moment and then you're like, wow, I'm really not feeling this. My body is not turned on by this person at all. And the person's like, I want to open her up, and he just wants to get in there and he just wants to stick it in you. And you're just like, oh God, how did I end up in this moment? And how many women have I had this conversation with who just kind of gritted their teeth and bared it? And they're just like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to let him in, even though this hurts. And he's like, I'm not even really wet. And, this just does not feel good, but I'll just, oh, I'm so sorry. On behalf of all men, I am so, so sorry. It's not your fault. And interestingly, it's not really the men's fault either, because the men are taught, well, if she's not turned on, it's because you're not being manly enough. You're not driving it hard enough. You're not pushing, you have to be the freaking, but we're not that as humans. We have masculine and feminine sides. And guess what? Underneath all of that, there's inherently fears and pain and beliefs that are conditioning our energy. And the beliefs, as they condition our energy, can be difficult to overcome unless we pierce through those mental lenses with a higher state of clarity, an awareness of the causal, an awareness of the deeper truth that we're okay, that we're beautiful, that we're enough, that they're beautiful, they're enough. We went into this moment because we were curious and we wanted to have an experience. And that's okay. And also, it's okay for that experience to change. And if the energy isn't feeling good and isn't aligned, and it's not just our belief about it, it's that there's a way that it's being driven by the person that we're with. We need to go, oh, I see. This person has ideas, beliefs, constructs, whatever, that are not harmonizing with me. The energy is not harmonizing. And I actually need to stop this experience and change it. And yes, as those in the chat are saying, communicate about it. And that love and acceptance from the heart is the way to give ourselves the bandwidth and the space and literally make room around that lens that our mind has, that particular idea, that particular crystal that's constraining the flow of energy. We're making space around it so that now we can actually see, well, that's one idea, but there are other ideas. There are other beliefs. There's other ways to look at this situation. And the whole of the situation, the wholeness of the dynamic is actually what we're seeking. We're seeking to know what's really going on all the levels here, the whole field. And that is what starts us really practicing key number 5. Communication is the lubrication for energy to flow. If we're able to just say, I'm kind of scared right now. Just that. Oh, you're scared. Oh, am I scary? What's happening? It gives an opportunity for there to be an investigation into the moment. And when what we communicate is true at a deeply authentic core level, that truth forms an illuminated pathway towards communion with each other. It's like we turned on a light and we start to be able to see a pathway towards connection. It's only when we're holding back our truth that we feel more and more distant with someone. When we can say our truth and we hear the reflection back and they share their truth, that is intimacy already. It actually doesn't even matter if the intimacy is leading towards sex or towards, pleasuring each other or whatever. What's most important is that we are intimate at the vulnerable level of communion with each other, which means telling each other the truth and meeting each other in the truth of the moment. Now, of course, we can see the larger effects of truth having this power for us if we look at our lives and we look at times and we look at relationships where, in fact, we were lying to ourselves, where we didn't tell the whole truth to our partners about something, our lovers about something. And by holding back a part of this truth, what happens is there's naturally begins to feel like there's a distance. It starts to feel like you are maybe not as connected with this person anymore. And it's real subtle, but it grows in time. The more that we hold back some aspects of our truth, the further the gap, the bigger the gap becomes, the further away the other person starts to feel. And when those lies are going both ways, it's like a direct repulsion of energy. And why is this happening? I mean, we could get into the physics of it deeply, but essentially, each of you has a lens. You're choosing to shape the energy that's flowing through that lens, and you're communicating about a part of that light, and you're trying to redirect the rest of the light a different direction. And so what you're literally doing is taking the field of the telepathic communion and the union that actually already exists, and you're blocking the energy in it while you're saying, I'm not blocking anything. I'm here. I'm not here. I'm present. I'm not really fully present. I want to be with you. Part of me doesn't want to be with you. I don't want to be with you because I'm scared that if I'm with you, it's going to reveal to me the thing in myself that I need to see that I'm not willing to see. That's what you're really saying. I'm scared to tell you the truth because if I tell you the truth, then you are going to judge me and deny me and push me away in your life. I'm scared of telling you the truth because if I tell you the truth, you may not like me anymore. Isn't that what it's really all about? We don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be denied. And it's really hard when our mental constructs about something give us a structure that says it's not safe to be who we are and to have our own experiences and to have our own feelings. Because if we share any of those or we express any of those, we're going to be hurting someone and they're going to hurt us back. Now, unfortunately, because of our society and because of our culture and essentially the sort of underlying, levels of psychosis in humanity, after having lied to ourselves for literally thousands of years, if you're Christian, you're in, essentially total denial about the rape and pillaging of millions of women across Europe for hundreds of years. If you're Muslim, you're in denial about your own incapacity to deal with your sexuality. So you want to cover up your women so that you don't have to look at them. The same is true of a lot of indigenous tribes. You must cover your entire body. Women must wear full dresses into sweat lodges. Why? Because they will distract the men. I'm sorry, that's not the female's problem. That's the man's problem, right? and so many constructs that we've developed and created across life and across society that essentially leave us with blame and shame constructs that we then project out because we are afraid to look at the truth of our own vulnerability and our own issues and our own shadows. Dang. That's the rough stuff. But that is what humanity is dealing with. And it's very, very well illustrated by the work of understanding the borderline mother and the work of borderline personality disorder as taught by different groups in psychology and NLP. It's also very well illustrated by the work of Barbara Ann Brennan, NASA astrophysicist and founder of the Barbara Ann Brennan School of Natural Healing, in which she depicts the 4 specific energetic control dramas that are used, that we all use to take energy from each other because we've forgotten how to resource ourselves within the source of all love, within the source of life, with our connection to nature, with our connection to the trees, the plants, the animal, the grounds. And my God, there's an entire massive wave of probably hundreds of thousands to millions of people who are having a belief now that the earth is flat. And guess what is happening? They're literally disconnecting themselves from the heart of the earth. And it's the same curse as was placed, 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago when the pentagram was made evil. And when the pentagram was made evil, it's literally your root chakra. It's literally your vibrational connection to the earth itself. So the power of the lenses that we can have on our lives and on our psyches is massive. It cannot be underestimated. And this is why I've been so passionately hacking away at the flat earthers at every talk for the last couple of years, because it's like, look, guys, just freaking look at the driving times in Australia versus North America. Just do your freaking diligence. Look. Just study it. Watch a boat go over the horizon. I mean, really, if you really think everybody in the world's lying to you, then just go to the ocean, watch a boat go over the horizon. Learn, observe, witness for yourself. And this is how we also have to crack through a lot of the BS stories about our sexuality, about sex itself, about the dynamics of sexual connection and sexual healing, because we're still in a lot of these energetic constructs that are trying to just get us to just be so hot. And it's just, oh, yeah. But then when you get into the moment from this like hot, sexy thing, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to actually be in connection. You've still got all these mental constructs. So you're just like, okay, I guess right now, is this hot when my leg's like this? And you're not even feeling the energetic communion that's drawn you into this moment and into this attraction space and into this state of potentiality for ecstatic bliss. You're not even there yet. So communication can help us unlock a pathway of how we can get there, how we can get to that state of communion. And it starts by being real and vulnerable and saying what's on our minds and feeling what's there. And yeah, it's scary. It's scary. And yes, we can say the wrong thing and we could say it wrong. We could say, I don't know, I'm not sure what's happening, but we have to own that it's ours. If we can do that and own that it's ours, suddenly the blame game doesn't hold. If you go in and you're like not that turned on and you're like, well, it must be the areolae of your nipples. That must be the problem. I'm just not turned on. I think you need to have some surgery in the areolae of your nipples. I literally, my ex-wife, her partner before she was with me, literally in the middle of being in intimacy and sex said, I think we could get surgery for those. Like, what? What? Yeah, bleach those babies. Like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you take your own inability to feel attraction to a certain thing or your own preferences and tell the person that you're with, you can fix that for me? That's not energetic communion. That's not honesty. Honesty was he had his own issues with turn on, his own pain he hadn't faced yet, his own stuff he was not willing to fully own and acknowledge and be present with. That's what was really going. The nipple was an excuse. And this is the case across so many things. We have to be real. And sometimes we have a particular intention and desire and want, and we're not sure if it's okay to communicate that because, maybe you are at a specific age or in a certain time period in your life where you're like, I want to have a child. I want to have a baby. And you end up in this moment with a lover or a partner, and you're in the dynamic of engaging in the intimacy with them. And, you both want to have sex. You both want to go there. You want to connect in this way. And you're like, oh, yeah, but I really want a child. Should I tell him? I don't know. And the next thing you know, it's interesting, but the man is having difficulty, feeling really rock hard and turned on and staying that way. And you're like, oh, what's wrong with him? But in reality, if you actually communicate the expression, I need you to know that I'm actually really looking for a life partner right now, and I really want to have children soon in my life. Suddenly, now you've created an opportunity to say, well, that could be a potential between us. Amazing. It's amazing that the dynamic is there, the energy is there, and the life force is there that could lead us on this exquisite, ecstatic journey together. Or it might be that the guy's like, oh, wow, that's interesting. I was feeling something and it was like uncertainty. And I feel like my body kind of knew that that's what your body wants. And I'm not ready for that. And I don't want that in my life right now. And now suddenly we've actually engaged the real energy that's actually going on. We've engaged the actual current that's in the experience and in the relation. And that current carries with it the truth. And guess what? It also carries with it pleasure. And so you also can get to, from that stage, look, I don't want to have kids right now, but I do really want to have this experience with you. And I don't know if I'm that person that you were looking for, that you want that. Do you still want to share this experience with me and cultivate this connection with me? Or should we just shift gears and actually connect on other levels and connect deeper as friends? Now you have an opportunity to see, well, is this the way that you're going to move together? And sometimes the answer is, let's shift and let's be friends. And other times the answer might be, let's go for it, but let's be really careful because your body really wants a baby right now. And let's really look at that. And let's hold this cognizantly together as we engage in this experience. And this leads us to key number 6, because telepathy is real, you guys. We are made of protons that are all entangled with all the other protons in and around us. And you better believe that when we touch things and we commune with things and we feel things, we feel people and we engage with people, we are literally forming light lattices of connection between us. And those light lattices of connection essentially carry with them songs, carry with them stories, carry with them information, carry with them tales of our past, pains that we've experienced, magic that we've experienced, and connect parts of us to parts of the other person that share the same vibrational resonance. That's what entanglement really is. It says that if I've had an experience doing archery and you've had an experience doing archery, when we are together, even if we don't know that, there's a part inside of our systems that begins to ring and resonate together. If my desire is similar to yours, if places I've lived are similar to yours, we literally have interconnected to and entangled to those lands. You might have even sat against the same tree. You might have looked at the same mountain and experienced the same reverence for that mountain, or literally had the same water molecules flowing through your body by sitting in the same waterfalls or swimming in the same ocean. There's all kinds of ways and depths and expansive ways that we are connected to each other. And these links that happen through entanglement don't just happen to the physical protons in our body. These connections happen across every one of our energy bodies, meaning that your vibratory etheric field is also capable of self-similar resonance with other vibratory etheric fields that allow us to share in and experience shared emotional communion. It's a vibration. It's not just a physical thing. It's not just like both of your glands go at the same time. It's not. There's actually a vibratory field in your aura that's in that sharing, as Gloria has pointed out as well. And on the mental body, guess what? We can also match up lenses. Oh, really? Yeah, you think the Earth is flat too? Amazing. We are in so much resonance with each other. And you're like, yeah, no. Let's move on from that one. I'll stop making jokes about the flat earthers. Forgive me. But any idea that we share, you could be really into football. You could be really into soccer. You could be really into swimming. You could be really into surfing. You could be really into, God forbid, politics. You could be really into ecology. And any one of these things that we share a mental body, astral body, geometry around, we may have similar geometric constructs, and those constructs are like translators. They enable us to share our energy with each other in a cleaner and more precise way because we have matching lenses to run energy through. It's just like my song and your song are in harmony and they're in harmonics. So there's a very beautiful connection that these things can do when we align at the mental body field. But we're also more than that. We have a causal body that's encompassing the field of potentiality dynamics between us and all the others around us. We have an akashic layer to our field that is deeply tuned to the reality that the culture of who we are is emergent from not only us, but the massive waves of time that have led through our ancestries to us and our own soul's journey across many, many lifetimes that has led to this moment and is providing us with an opportunity to discover new aspects of ourselves right now. And that's all in the throat. But the third eye says, I'm willing to embrace the entire universal essence of all that you are, of all that is. I'm willing to see through the polarity and through the duality and recognize that I can actually be in a state where in my being and in my seeing and in my feeling, we can be there together. And this is really about getting to know our minds, getting to be honest about them, getting to recognize that we don't really want to assume that we know or grasp the nature of any other person's thoughts or feelings because we're still interpreting them with our own lenses. So we may feel, and it's okay to feel, it's okay to recognize, we're in telepathic communion. We are in connection. There's information being exchanged here. But what you're doing is softening the level of your solar plexus level mental translation of that into this is what's fact. It's not about that. It's actually just about recognizing what's there in the field, in the feeling, in the wholeness of the experience. Now let's take this one down into sexuality and say, okay, sure, there's this little edge, there's this little edge, there's this little edge, there's this good thing, there's this bad thing. I really think this part of the body is hot. I don't think that part is so hot. This felt really good. That didn't feel so good. All of these are little judgments, little notes, little parts of the experience. But if we can actually hold the wholeness of the experience and watch it as its whole journey begins to unfold and witness ourselves, really look at ourselves. Okay, wow, this is where my edge is. Okay, that's where, okay, this is where the other edge is. All right, that's also what's going on for me. And wow, there's this feedback and there's this feeling from her. We're recognizing what needs to be communicated, what needs to be shared, what needs to be said. Can I speak to this part that's feeling vulnerable? Can I speak to this place? I feel like she just needs to hear me say, fuck, you're so hot right now. Oh, you're turning me on so much. Or, God, I love the way the hair goes behind your ear. Or, oh, geez, your breasts are just so exquisite. Or, oh, wow, you have such a beautiful cock. Or, oh, wow, whatever it is that we're feeling called to honor the other person, to meet the other person, to speak to those little lenses that might be going, oh gosh, am I safe? Am I good? Am I okay? Through our telepathic field, we can actually navigate those and we can preemptively speak to them. We can actually soften the places that might pull back and restrict before they even come up. And suddenly now there's this amazing feeling that starts to arise. This feeling like we can trust the universe. This feeling like there's a greater beauty to what's unfolding here. And we actually surrender what it must mean. If we have sex, it must mean this. If we're intimate, it must mean that. Okay, I guess this means we're in for life now, or whatever those parts of ourselves might look like that attempt to label and constrict around the meaning of something, and instead is like, what is the meaning of this? What is the greater journey of this experience right now? And now we start to move into level 7. And in level 7, it's essentially working on getting to the great knowing. It's about actually feeling ourselves as we go deeper and deeper into the sexual experience and start to feel like there's a poetry in it, that there's a divine architecture in it, and that every little thing that's starting to happen, every little move, every little touch, every little gasp, every little feeling of pleasure, every opening and closing and opening again is part of a divine romance. And we begin to actually witness the person that we're with as an embodiment of the sacred. That every part of their skin is a map of the universe. That they may begin to take on archetypal forms that may be able to emerge into an experience where you're not just making love with a person. You're actually giving yourself to a divine being. And it's not really even so much about whether they're perfect and they're godlike and they're avataric. You're actually starting to surrender all of that as you're able to go deeper into the state of trust and communion. And you've done the work of the other 6 keys, essentially, to move into the real, total, beautiful presence of being with this person. And now you're starting to realize, and you're allowing yourself to realize, that there is an opportunity here for worship, for prayer, for communion with more than just a person, but communion with the divine essence itself. And suddenly her body becomes Freya, and you're riding Freya through the woods, and the leaves are blowing past, and the wolves are howling, and she is howling, and she is the life force of nature, wrapping herself around you, gripping you, pressing you, pushing you to your edge, trying to make you lose everything for her. And all you can do is commit deeper to staying with that presence and loving her and loving her and loving her until the entire forest explodes in ecstasy, to where he becomes a god. Neptune, his tides and his ocean is crashing on you again and again, and you're losing yourself in the waves, and you're surrendering as every wave of energy courses through you. His great trident of consciousness piercing through into the heart of your existence until your soul begins to experience itself as the ecstasy of the entire ocean. There's a lot more. There are many, many more archetypes and tales and stories and experiences that we can choose to consciously engage in as we go forth into this journey of making our sex sacred, bringing our whole selves into that, letting the pleasure shine so fully and so deeply that we become an emanation of divine love into the universe itself. And we begin to bless all the people in our lives through our level of honesty and our love for ourselves and our love for them and our willingness to move through the pain, move through the challenges, move through the constrictions, see our thoughts and beliefs, transform and transmute them, and refine our lens of the way that we look at reality until we are fucking like gods and goddesses. And we are able to bring the majesty of our creative power as creators to this world. I'm going to just take a few more minutes today, as this is just a public introduction to this course that I'm leading over the next month in April. As you can tell, I'm very excited about it. I'm pretty passionate about this topic, and it's something that I love sharing about, and I've loved talking about with close friends and close beloveds for many, many years. And I've been on my own sexual journey for a very long time. And those that know me well know that I've had my own very significant challenges when I was young and growing up and figuring out how to navigate what it means to be a male and to be a sexual person in our time. And I've had to work through a lot of things to get to where I am now in my life. And where I am now in my life, I have this exquisite beauty and depth and honesty and presence with my lovers. I have this exquisite experience of deep, profound communion with my primary partner. And I get to have this beautiful experience of compersion and love in witnessing the people that I love, loving other people, and that I have a state of freedom in the knowing that soul communion is more important than claiming someone or something for myself. And that actually every single connection is an opportunity to get to know myself and God and the divine and the sacred more and more deeply in my life. So this course that I'm leading throughout April, starting on April 12th, and then going all the way through until May 3rd, although the last session of the course might have to be moved 1 week. I've been invited to come and join the Sun Nation down at a place called the Heart of the World in Colombia and receive initiations and be adopted into their tribe for some of the work that I've been doing in the world. And so I'm very likely going to be taking that journey and going back to some of my indigenous roots. As some of you know, I've done a lot of work with indigenous elders and families for many, many years throughout my life, since back in 2004. And so I may have to reschedule that one session, but otherwise the sessions will happen every Friday at 2 p.m. That's the current plan. If I get enough feedback from people in the course that Friday afternoons are not good, then we may shift the schedule. This is a very interactive process. I think that being together live is one of the most precious times we have. And so I want to honor and invite you to come and be present with me live so that we can really connect. And I want to take your questions and I want to engage with you and I want to get to know what each of you have in terms of your journey through life and some of the edges that you've faced, because there are beautiful secrets woven into these keys that can help us essentially unfold some of those challenges and let those seeds actually sprout and bloom into the rose gardens that they are meant to be. So that's it for this session today. But I'd love to actually allow any of you that want to, I'll take a little bit more time. Please feel free to post into the chat any questions that you have about the course or about the experience. I will paste the link into the chat as well in case you haven't registered and you want to register for the course. And as we go into this journey of the course, a lot of the major topics that we'll be exploring have to do with more than just the nature of sex, but we'll talk about polarity and gender and alchemy between different types of genders, different dynamics of gender pairings, and the creative power that can be inherent in that, as well as some of the challenges that can arise. We'll be focusing on the human energy body, sexual circuitry, looking at different parts of the sexual circuitry of the body and how to open up viscerally different areas where there tends to be restrictions and constriction. We'll talk about muscles and fascia and the power of massage and de-armoring. De-armoring and essentially releasing the body's musculature constrictions around past pain points throughout our lives can be one of the most profound and transformative practices that we can do. And that is whether you're a man or a woman. We tend to hold in our physical tissues the memories of some of our greatest challenges in life. And so through learning how to release those muscular points and pain points inside of us, including we'll cover 4 different specific areas inside of the yoni that can be released to release the pelvic floor and the internal parts of the female body. And we'll also cover several points on the male body around the lingam and in the perineum area that can help to essentially do the same thing and de-armor for men. We'll talk about multi-orgasmic states and those kinds of states and entering those states depending on the type of gender that you have or the identification that you have sexually. And we'll talk about the structure of the yoni, the structure of the lingam, and different ways that those map and mirror to the whole body, including to the chakra system, which is very important. As many of you know, through iridology or palmistry, each part of our body is a fractal holographic reflection of the whole body. And so our sexual organs are absolutely no different. We have a mirror inside of us that matches all of the different aspects of our body straight from the sexual organs themselves. We'll talk about energy circulation and mastery of that, how to cultivate and contain and build energy over time as we work with our sexual field and how to manage that. And no, this is not a course that just says, men, just stop ejaculating forever. It's going to make you better men. It's not really true. But we will talk about how learning how to control ejaculation and choose when you do and when you don't can help you manage your energy, as well as learning how to manage the energy in the lower dantian, the crucible of our chi. Finally, we'll do mental harnessing and magical generation, how to take the buildup of energy in these sexual moments and harness it and focus it towards manifesting the things that you want to see in your life, and how to witness what's working and what's not, and to start identifying where and how you may still have other areas of your lenses to clean and change and clear and rearrange in order to enable yourself to be a more complete and comprehensive manifester. And finally, we'll talk about dancing with the divine and the nature of being in a divine state during sex and actually experiencing yourself in states of total samadhi, total divine presence, and knowing yourself as the divine God, goddess essence that you actually are. And having an access point to that experience that doesn't take you 30 years of meditation, that doesn't require that you prostrate yourself before some master that's outside of you, but that actually is about you surrendering and kneeling before the altar of your own divine, exquisite pleasure. So this should be a really fun adventure. Again, April 12th is the first course date. So if you want to register, register now. And let me just see if you guys posted any questions in here. Scanning through this chat. Yep, the link should work whether it's capital or lowercase. And thank you all. Thank you so much for connecting. And it's wonderful to see all of you here. And such a pleasure to see even a lover of mine here that I've known for a long time. And yes, it's such always an honor to show up and to bring these gifts. And I hope to see you all in my course starting up in a couple weeks. And this weekend, of course, as you know, or coming up into early next week is the eclipse. And we are at the exact halfway gate right now between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. So as a final note on that, as we wrap up, please take good care of yourself if you're going into this eclipse field. We're all going to be in it, but going into the heart of it can be very, very powerful and very transformative. This is also an eclipse that happens to be running really right through the mainframe structure of a lot of the power systems on this planet. And you better believe there will be a lot of big magic that's going to be in action. That magic is going to be setting the structure and the field for how things are going to unfold politically and environmentally and militarily over the next entire wave of a year. And so it's really important, if you are a magi, if you're a guardian, if you're someone who considers yourself to be a spiritual person with the capacity to hold an angelic presence or an angelic field, to really be focused on doing the sacred work over this eclipse cycle. And perhaps, if you're embarking on this journey of initiation into sexuality, maybe this might be an opportunity to have an experience and actually create your first ceremonial experience around sexuality in order to have your prayer be resonating further out into the universe as you experience this eclipse. But please take good care of yourselves, be very careful, and essentially practice when your inner being being accepting and being loving and being honest and being truthful about whatever's arising for you and whatever's coming up. The more you can be in that accepting space and allowing and releasing judgment and just being really deeply present with all that is, the easier this journey of the eclipse will be for you. So good luck to you all. Blessings and aloha. And I'm just going to check that link that I sent you real quick. Okay. For some reason that's giving a 404. Let me just give you guys just the direct link to the course page. Try that one if the other link that I sent doesn't actually work. And I guess the uppercase, lowercase does make a difference with Bitly. That's a totally new surprise for me. So thank you so much, Mars, for giving me the heads up on that. And I hope to see you all on April 12th on Friday, and look forward to seeing you all in the course. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream and close on up. All right. I'm not seeing any hands or any typing. So thank you all so much. Aloha keakua. See you soon. Blessed be in the Kesh. Wopila.